Alrighty, y'all. What's up? Hope you're having a great day. We're looking at this is what the rest of the world thinks of Americans from a channel called the Infographic Show. So be linked in the description down below. And as always, I'm an American, born and raised here. I'm very proud of this, to be an American. But at the same time, I'm a realist. So I know there's things that America falls short on. I know that there's many flaws here. And I know, contrary to popular belief, we do not rank high or top 10 or something on every list ever, right? We're very good at a lot of things, but fall short on a lot of other things. But some of this might be accurate. Some of this also might be BS. So let's just check it out, and I'll see what I can decipher here. Here we go.
Someone tell me why Americans always leave the AC on, even if they go out all day. This question we saw last night posted on an online...
I definitely don't do that. Yeah, it's super, super hot here in the Southwest, right? Where I am here in New Mexico. And trust me, if you left your AC on, oh boy, would that be a unbelievable electric bill. I can't even imagine. No, we leave it on a lot, maybe compared to some places. I don't know. But when I leave, I tend to turn it off because, you know what? When we come back, the house might be warm, but you can turn it back on and it'll get relatively cool, quickly. And of course, I don't leave it on at night or anything like that, even during hot desert nights. Yeah, that's a bit of a generalization and sounds a little short-sighted.
Online forum by a disgruntled hotel owner. What followed were reams of insults, generalizations, arguments, peppered with the odd, intelligent, and temperate comment. That's par for the course online, but it's fortunate we saw that so soon before writing the show. We saw comments along the lines of Americans are just arrogant and ignorant, as if 325.7 million people were molded into one monolithic entity. Then we saw, I'm American, and I leave the AC on as long as I like. I pay for it. See, people said, they all think the world owes them something. What about the environment? Driving around in their big cars and SUVs.
Oh, geez, this is starting out. This is starting out just excellent, isn't it? Well, I'm a little bit in the middle there. I think if you pay for something, if you use it more, you're going to pay more. If you're willing to pay more, then go ahead. Go ahead. But also know that, yes, things have consequences. You know what? It is what it is. I hope someday, I think there is already, ways to cool your house better than AC. I think typical conventional AC systems are, quite frankly, not that efficient and very expensive. I think it could be better. And I think we should all strive towards that because I do think being, environmentally aware is kind of an important thing, right? But yeah, it is equally as, to put it friendly, ridiculous to accuse just Americans of driving cars and big trucks and using AC and destroying the planet. Last time I checked, there's big trucks in every country that I've ever seen. You can find trucks and vehicles that people drive and AC systems, in certain places around the world. So I don't think any of these are exclusively Americans. So.
Throwing out more trash than anyone and pretending to care about environmental disasters. This went on and on, with people casting aspersions against an entire nation. Others, of course, weren't so bad, calling out people for having a very limited understanding of a country and its cultural and intellectual diversity. But can we make such a generalization?
Can I also say a pet peeve? I find it so funny, so ultimately hypocritical when people talk big game about how, ridiculous or dumb or bad America is. And they've never stepped foot here. I think that's pretty funny. It's equally hypocritical, too, because, they get mad if an American generalizes about Europe or generalizes about some specific country, says something about France or says something about Australia or says something about whatever. And if it's wrong or a total generalization, they say, well, you've never been here. You wouldn't know. You're too, you're stuck in America, blah, blah, blah. Well, then don't say all these blanket statements about America either, because if you've never set foot here and seen how things actually work, that kind of makes you an ass, right? So just throwing that out there.
Could we argue that many Americans embrace their individuality and their right to do what they want? They paid for that darn AC, and they will darn well do what they want with it. The fact is, we all sometimes are culpable of whittling down the world to a manageable size that fits within our sometimes uneducated preconceptions.
Good way to
We
put it.
cannot say all Americans are this or that, but
No.
perhaps there might be underlying character.
Oh, God. Yeah, first of all, this country is absolutely massive. There's over 300 million people here. There's tourism here. There's people coming here for jobs and leaving. There's all these things. It is a crazy big country, both in landmass and in population. And I would argue one thing. I know America is not the best at everything, and the whole America is the best thing is ignorant and way overplayed. I agree. But America is good at one thing. We have extreme diversity here. So many class of cultures. You can get so many different types of foods and music and tons of cultures that you can consume anywhere in the country. It's really, really cool. And then, of course, you have pockets of certain cultures that are even greater in, the Southwest versus, Wisconsin versus Florida versus whatever, right? It's really, really cool. And, yeah, for someone to make a blanket statement about all of America, it just sounds hilarious because what is an American? You can't define an American. That could mean so many different types of people. Like, dude, stop with that blanket statement stuff. Also, whoever made this video is cracking me up because I know it's probably just like generic graphics, but so Las Vegas over Utah. That's just funny. Come on now. Las Vegas is way down here in the southern tip of Nevada. Come on.
Character traits to a culture, something data, evidence, or experience can provide us with. But in the end, most of us don't rely on data or objective reasoning and rely instead on an image, a construction that we've created out of a wanton bias. Number 5, arrogance. As we said, much of the world thinks Americans are arrogant. You don't have to look hard online to find this out. We hear that they like nothing more than to plant flags around their houses, and they go on and on about how great their country is, and by association.
Yeah, I said this in another video. I think the flag thing's overblown. I don't see that many flags at everyone's house. Like, that's just not common. I don't know what people are talking about. Maybe they were in a specific neighborhood, and I guess that means every neighborhood in America has flags. I don't know. That's just way too general, and I misguided in my opinion. Also, I don't get the big deal. They have pride in their country. The flag represents the fallen, people that have given their life in crazy times and given their life to protect this country. I don't know.
That must mean how
what do
great
I know? I'm just
they
an American.
Are, even though they often didn't do that much to claim this superiority. As the American comedian Doug Stanhope once alluded, some flag wavers are like imperial hangers-on. Anyway, some people say this is why Americans are often so loud, and don't worry, there are plenty of articles and forum questions asking why American voices tend to drown out others, say when abroad. We might ask if this has anything to do with that sense of patriotism. The great country, greatest, best in the world, no doubt, better than anyone else, and also the entitlement that comes from a place that espouses expressive individualism at all costs. The loud American is a much better known phrase than the great piece of literature called the quiet American. Forums are full of people talking about these loud people, demanding, expatiating, bragging, complaining, extolling the merits of good old America, and forcing some poor European into a quiet internal violence, wondering all the time, do they not realize they're being obnoxious? Where's the self-awareness? Hell yes, go America! Now, this isn't of course true for all Americans. It's a stereotype, but it exists.
Big time.
If you don't believe us, check it out for yourself. You could be reading for a year, even though it's fantastically unrealistic and arrogant to think the stereotype is true for all people in the USA. What we hope to do is point out such stereotypes, and we can discuss them after the show. All countries attempt to imbue a sense of nationalism in their people. It's how they get soldiers to fight wars, to believe in the country, to create a sense of belonging and cooperation. But do nations attempt to foster ignorance in people? Well, you might have read some critics saying the American school system is purposely trying to dumb down its citizens. They want workers, robots, not creative, critical, skeptical kids that might ask too many questions. Hail the idiocracy! We're not saying this is true, it's a criticism leveled by some people, but we can say that much of the world thinks Americans are ignorant. Well, to be frank, most of those shows pointing out American ignorance regarding their own nation are made on home turf. But you'll find people outside of the USA saying things like they don't know anything about history, not even their own. They believe only in their own heroic narrative and think the French Revolution is a roller coaster. We're told Americans are so insular, they are out of their depth when they walk out of the front door. But is any of this true? Listen to this. There's a cult of ignorance in the United States, and there always has been. The strain of anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge. Those words were spoken by the American scientist Isaac Asimov. But the fact that those words were his means there's a contradiction in terms. America is constantly ablaze with creative thinking. There is a daily conflagration of innovation, thoughtful introversion, skepticism, groundbreaking scientific research, world-changing fiction, reasonable, intelligent discourse appearing in blogs, podcasts, etc. But it turns out a lot of people, including inside America and outside, believe a culture of ignorance is propagated there. Is there any data to support this? Yeah, there seems there is. The Big Think wrote a story in 2013 with the title, "Why Are Americans So Ignorant?" And indeed, within the article is a lot of compelling evidence that many, in some cases most Americans, know very little about how their own country works, or worked, and don't even ask about the rest of the world. Weak civics curricula, partisan propaganda, and misplaced priorities of the mainstream media all share some blame for American ignorance, the writer says. But we feel it goes deeper than that. We'll let you decide. Number 3, positiveness.
Yeah, those are good points, and that's what that's exactly the opposite of this channel. Is I'm trying to show that me, just one random American, is proud to be an American, and at the same time acknowledges that there are many faults here, that I hope the country goes in a better direction in the future than it's going now, and also that I want to learn about the world. There's more to the world than America. Duh, everyone knows that. But some Americans might seem maybe not to, right? Their knowledge, their interests just doesn't go beyond the borders of America. I'm well aware of that. That isn't me, but I know other people are like that. And quite frankly, I can't change that. I don't need to change that. As long as people don't harm one another, they can have their own thoughts and beliefs, of course. But yeah, I'm really glad that I can learn about other cultures and interact with people from across the world. And I really hope other Americans would want to do so at some point in their life.
Friendliness. We've really been bashing America, so now we'll look at a positive stereotype as equally untrue for all Americans. We must add, though, that when it comes to generalizations of countries, many people harbor a negative bias. How many of you have ever uttered the words, "Oh, I really don't like the English, the French, the Indian, the Chinese"? Just add your nation to the list. We recently saw a comment made by a young American who has gone to study in the UK. He couldn't wait to get out, saying the atmosphere for the most part was gray, unfriendly, and intimidating. Maybe he just went to the wrong place, but one might argue that Americans are in general more open and positive than Brits. We might remember what the dry, wry British celebrity intellectual Stephen Fry said about his trip to the US when he made a show about travel there. He said this sense of outgoing positivity he enjoyed, and he said it's something the Brits were missing. You can do it in America, or at least many people are taught to think they can. While back in Britain, perhaps the most downtrodden submit to the fact that life is hard, painful, where's the beer? What some people call arrogance, Fry said, was partly American optimism, or
Thank you. That's a great way to put it. That is one thing I'm super proud of here. Now, I can't speak for other countries. I won't do that because I haven't been there. So I have not been around the world, so I don't know how it is elsewhere, but I do know that here people are very, for the most part, very friendly, very fun, very outgoing. There's a good sense of community. Now, of course, it ranges. I feel like in bigger cities. Quite frankly, I'm not a huge city person, big city person. I enjoy more like medium-sized places or even more rural. But yeah, if you go to like New York City or LA or something, just generalizing, sorry, it might be a little more standoffish, certain people, right? But when, for the most part, there are really good communities here in America, and everyone is optimistic and has big dreams and goals. And quite frankly, I truly believe that here, instead of just being a 9-to-5 worker your whole life, I feel like here you can really try hard, make connections, and make it here. You can start a business. You can do your passion sometimes, or at least aspire to, and maybe you might get there. Yeah, the American optimism, the American friendliness, the ability to make connections with people and have them show you around their hometown, whether how big or small it is. I think that's really, really nice, and I am proud that America has that quality because, quite frankly, why would you not want to experience some awesome camaraderie with other people? I think it's great.
What he said was a refusal to see oneself in a bad light. He added, if you go to an American bookshop, by far the biggest section is the self-help and improvement. He said people believe that life is refinable and improvable. That's how America works, he said. You adapt and you find ways to improve. You never submit. Hell yeah, he loves that about America. Take that in your British pipes and smoke it. We think we might add here that a lot of people have experienced this, and while harboring the stereotype that Americans are outgoing and confident, those same people might hold a counter generalization that sometimes this positivity climax is a bit too hard. It jumps the shark. And then, within this transposition, it manifests as something deplorable to others. It turns into pride without substance, blind faith, a superiority complex that is bathed only in its own ignorance. Number 2. Money. It's all about money. If you've ever read critiques on Hollywood versus cinema, you'll find that Hollywood is said to be firstly, perhaps only.
Before he even explains this point, I am gonna say that I've said this before. I will admit that America as a whole seems to be pretty obsessed with money. I think there's no arguing that. I don't know what to tell you.
A money-making enterprise. European cinema, we're told, is more about the art. In an American film, often the happiest of all happiest endings is when they get away with the money. What else could matter? If you want to make a movie in Hollywood, first show bits of it to the most average consumers and ask what they think. Then make the film based on the results. Even if the movie might be greeted with intense dislike by more refined audiences, it's all about cash, goddammit. We won't spend long on this, but America didn't invent capitalism. It's evidently just been very good at it. But at the same time, America embraces free speech, and critics of capitalism and neoliberalism abound in the country. America, the foundation of the United States, was built to have restrictions in place for if or when any behemoth gets out of control and gains too much power. We won't address the complications or merits of this today, but we will say that much of the world thinks America is overly money-centered, more than, say, focused on happiness gained from other means than merely being rich and having lots of things. Number 1. Americans are all fat. Some Europeans and other citizens of the world.
This is just the dumbest comment I've ever heard. I'm not even going to speak about it. It's just so dumb.
Like nothing more than to
man.
show their own superiority
Jeez.
by constantly defaming Americans for their ingrained bad habits and slovenly TV-addicted fat.
Anyone that says all Americans are fat, you sound like a child with a temper. Just shut up, man.
Fast food-related obesity. It is a fact that some part of America has a problem with eating, and this has led to what's called an obesity epidemic that has resulted in widespread health complications. Your average Asian might touch down in, say, Houston for the first time and think they've discovered a land of giants. But America is not the fattest country in the world. It's around the 17th according to the WHO. It's the fattest Western nation, but a lot of other Western countries are not far behind in terms of obesity. Obesity crises are happening in the UK, New Zealand, Ireland, Australia, and many other nations. We can hardly say the junk food epidemic is an American affliction only. And on the other hand, many Americans are fitness freaks. It's a fitness-conscious country as well.
Yeah, go around America and open your eyes. Fitness and being lean as hell is an extreme American obsession, not being fat. So, yeah, there's fat people everywhere. There's skinny people everywhere. There's muscular people everywhere. Let's just get over it, man, for real.
As a nation of couch-bound sugar junkies. Just look at popular podcasts such as The Joe Rogan Show, and you'll see that health, longevity, physical improvement is on the minds of many Americans. You could even go as far to say that this new wave of health improvement is being led by an American avant-garde. But yes, the stereotype of fat America is hardly only imaginary. We could have added more to this list, but we feel if we're to debate these stereotypes in the comments, we might leave it here as it could get confusing. Do you think any of these stereotypes are true? Do you take
No, I don't take offense to them because I guess maybe it's because I'm American. Maybe it's because I'm me, At the end of the day, I'm not just American. I'm Ian. I'm my own person. I think at the end of the day, people are people, and countries, thousands of years ago weren't the same as they are now. An American person and someone from Iceland and someone from, Japan, they're all people. They're not a different species, they're literally all people. So no, I don't take offense to any of these because why would I? I mean, people say a lot of goofy stuff. People say things that are true, that are false, that are generalized. And either way, at the end of the night, I'm going to sleep well. It's not going to sit with me what someone else across the world thinks, especially if it's based in something, arrogance. But yeah, tell me what you thought of this. This was actually interesting. I will say that. It was different than I thought the video would be like. You have to realize that, at least what I do know, right? I don't know because I haven't been everywhere and, learned about every branch of every government, of how every little detail works in other countries, like every country in the world. Like, I can't speak for a lot of countries because I feel like I don't have enough knowledge of them to have any credentials on speaking of them. So, obviously, as an American, I can speak of what it's like here, and I like it here. There are flaws. I totally get it. But there are a lot of excellent reasons to be here as well. And it is pretty funny. You have to realize that a lot of Americans laugh at foreign stereotypes that are just completely false. I would just say to anyone that is curious about going to America but doesn't know if they should or not, at the end of the day, do your research, talk to people that have gone, and, choose your own path, right? If you want to go, great. If you don't, that's your choice. But I think this place is great. It's a great place to visit. And I think you would change your mind on a lot of things. I think you would be amazed by how much culture there is here, how many, millions of different people there are, how people come together as a community in hard times here, and how much culture there is, how much amazing food there is, sporting events, all these different things. I think it's a really fun place. And like I said, I hope it does better because this country needs to do better because it's had a lot of shaky years in the past, few decades. I totally understand that America is subject to criticism, as it should be, as really I think any country should be, because certainly no country is perfect. But yeah, guys, in closing, I am so loving learning about different countries. That's kind of what the theme here is. I really embrace that. And I'm just scratching the surface. After all these hundreds of videos, I'm just scratching the surface. There's so much more to learn, and I am absolutely thankful and can't believe how many awesome people I have connected with through this channel and our amazing community on this channel, being from every corner of the earth. Quite frankly, it is awesome. It's a blessing. It's amazing. Yeah, this will be linked in the description down below. You can check it out there to watch it in its entirety uninterrupted. I really hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please throw a thumbs up on this, like the video. I do appreciate it. It will help it out. And subscribe. Join this amazing community we have here. And let me tell you, I can't wait to see you in the comments. I hope everyone is friendly in the comments. Sure, we'll get some various opinions in the comments, as we should. But yeah, I will see you down there. And with that being said, guys, my name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you later.